Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I'm Taylor. Today I'm hosting a fall dinner and dessert collab with some of my best friends from YouTube. Tamara at Southern Wife Everyday Life, Kat at Southern Farm and Kitchen, Shauna at the Dickinson Homestead, and Jess from Jess and the Boys. We got a bunch of ladies together and we're all sharing a fall dinner, side, and dessert. Make sure you check out the playlist down below for some delicious ideas. Today I'll be sharing a quick and easy recipe for Brunswick Stew, cheddar biscuits, and pecan pie cheesecake. For the Brunswick Stew, I started off by melting 4 tablespoons of butter in my Dutch oven. Then I added in 1 medium diced onion and about a tablespoon of minced garlic, and I cooked that for 5 minutes until the onions were tender. Next, I added in 1 cup of frozen lima beans and cooked that for another 2 minutes. Then I added in 1 can of diced tomatoes, 8 ounces of tomato sauce, 1 cup of barbecue sauce, and 3 cups of chicken broth. The barbecue sauce you use is really going to be your preference. I like my Brunswick Stew kind of tangy, so I prefer to use a vinegar or mustard-based barbecue sauce, but you can use whatever you like. And then you're going to simmer that for about 15 minutes. Next, I added in 1.5 cups of frozen corn, half a teaspoon of hot sauce, some salt, pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, and my meat. My favorite way to make this is with leftover meat. I usually save some pulled pork from when I make it to use specifically for this. And then you're also going to need chicken or turkey. Last year I used leftover Thanksgiving turkey for this and it was great. You can even use like a rotisserie chicken, whatever you have. You're going to need about 1.5 cups of pork and 1.5 cups of chicken or turkey. I usually let that simmer for about another 15 minutes or until whatever else I'm making is done. To go with the Brunswick Stew, I always like to do some sort of bread, so I decided to make some buttermilk cheddar biscuits. These are super easy and really similar to the biscuits you get at Red Lobster. For this, you need 2 cups of baking mix like Bisquick, 3/4 cup to 1 cup of buttermilk. You can also use regular milk. I just had a lot of buttermilk to use up. I like to add some garlic powder to the biscuits, but this is optional. I did about 1/4 teaspoon. Then about 1/2 cup of cheddar cheese. I mix that all together and it will be a very thick dough. If you need to add another splash of milk, go ahead and do that to get it all mixed together. I spoon this mixture out onto a baking sheet. I try to make them as equal in size as I can, and I get 8 biscuits. These bake at 450 degrees for 10 minutes. While they were baking, I melted 4 tablespoons of butter and I mixed it with half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Then when the biscuits were done, I brushed the butter on top. Okay, for the dessert, this is something that actually has to be made the day before because it is a cheesecake and it has to sit in the fridge for like 12 hours and cool. So I started off by cutting out a piece of parchment paper to fit inside my pan, and then I greased my pan and then put that piece of parchment paper inside. This is a 7-inch springform pan that I found at Aldi. I will also link one in my Amazon shop. So for my crust, I started off by putting some graham crackers in my food processor and blending them up. I used 6 graham crackers for this, and if you don't have a food processor, you can just do this like in a Ziploc bag and crush it with like a rolling pin. So I crushed those up until they were fine. And then I added in 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1/4 cup of unsalted melted butter, and I blended that again until it was all combined. Then I took that crust mixture and I pressed it into my springform pan. I try to go up the sides a little bit, but I just never have any luck really pushing it up the sides of the pan. So I just spread it evenly throughout, and then I popped this in the freezer. I will have the recipe linked down below for you guys so you guys can get exact measurements for this. This is the second time I made it and it turned out great. But right now I am mixing together my cream cheese and sugar in my KitchenAid, and I'm going to beat that on medium until it is smooth and creamy. Next, I added in my 2 eggs. I did them one at a time, making sure the one egg was fully incorporated before I added in the next. And I scraped down the sides of the bowl to make sure everything was getting mixed together really well. Next, I added in my flour, sour cream, and vanilla, and I beat that again until everything was combined. Now for the pecan pie topping, I added brown sugar, egg, corn syrup, pecans, and melted butter in a bowl, and I mixed that together really well until everything was nice and combined. For the pecans, I used my pecans from Nutstop, and pecans are so soft, like I didn't even need to cut them up. I just kind of like broke them into pieces so that I didn't have whole pecans in my pecan pie topping. Then the cheesecake mixture went on top of our crust, and then I tapped it on the counter a few times to try to make sure I removed any air bubbles, and then I poured that pecan pie topping over the top, and then I will cover this with aluminum foil to try to prevent any condensation from getting on top of the cheesecake. And then I also made a kind of like sling for my pan to kind of be able to easily lift the pan and put it in the Instant Pot and get it out when it was done. I just rolled up some aluminum foil. You can also buy a sling on Amazon or wherever that's made for the Instant Pot. I just haven't found that necessary for me to purchase yet. Then I am going to put 1.5 cups of water in my Instant Pot, and then I'm going to lower this pan down into that water. And then the lid goes on the pressure cooker, and it's going to cook on manual high pressure for 30 minutes. And I allowed it to naturally release. It took 7 minutes for me both times to come to pressure. And then, of course, it cooked for the 30 minutes. And then the natural release took about 10 minutes to do. And once this was done, I just used my little sling to lift the pan out of the Instant Pot, and I took the foil off the top and I used a paper towel to remove any condensation that might have been on top of the cheesecake. Both times that I made this, there was like no condensation on there, hardly at all. And then I let this cool on the counter for an hour, and then I refrigerated it for 12 hours. After cooling for at least 12 hours, I removed my springform pan and kind of slid the cheesecake over onto a cake plate, and this was ready to serve. As I said before, I have made this twice now. This was my second time making it. I wanted to test it the first time and make sure it was going to turn out because, one, I've never made a cheesecake, and two, I've never made a cheesecake in the Instant Pot, and it turned out amazing. We absolutely loved it. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure you go check out the playlist down below so you can get lots of yummy fall dinner and dessert ideas.